but I didn't hear you say what you did since then.
I work in private practice for a law firm in downtown Peoria, and I've been there for about two and a half years.
My rebuttal is that is what Darin does. And I think he should continue doing it.
Other questions? Yes, ma'am. State your name, please.
Sharon Kennedy, former Peoria County Board member representing West Peoria. I worked with Kevin on a number of committees, a number of things, and I know that Kevin has a lot of experience with working with governmental budgets, but I really don't know much about Mr. LaHood's background. Have you also had experience in working with governmental budgets?
Well, I'll just tell you this. I've worked as a county employee in Cook County, and I worked as a county employee in Tazewell County. I also, as a federal prosecutor, headed up a program called Project Safe Neighborhoods, which was funded through a number of federal grants and had a budget. So from that standpoint of heading up the Project Safe Neighborhoods program that had a number of different people, the program headed up about 30 different law enforcement agents. That had federal agents, had district attorneys, and also had federal agents. And within that, we worked within a budget of, you get that? So, you know, from that standpoint of,
You're going to answer
This is where I work.
Well, would you care?
maybe we can answer when she comes back.
Perhaps it would make more sense. Did you have anything else? I mean, you were just sort of summing up, you know, your experience. You've worked as an employee, you headed up the agency, and anything else.
You know, so from the standpoint of working with a budget at the federal level that involved over 30 different personnel over a 2 or 3 year period and looking out for that budget, absolutely. And working within the state's attorney system in Tazewell County, where we had about 16 assistants over there, and working for Stuart Umholtz there, and then working in a bigger bureaucracy in Cook County, which is all county government and county employees. I worked in 2 different divisions there. I think I have a very good understanding of administration and how that works. And I think if you talk to the people that were under me in the Project Safe Neighborhoods program, they'll tell you that we ran a pretty efficient program there.
Thank you. I'm sorry for the interruption.
Oh, that's okay.
Humor. A rebuttal to that, if that, anything you want to say to that, sir?
No, I don't have a rebuttal.
Any other questions? Yes, I'm sorry.
My name's John Clore. I live on Ayers, and my question is, you talked a lot about statistics, and I'm just curious, how many trials have you prosecuted for murder or for sexual assault cases or anything like that?
When I was a Tazewell County Assistant State's Attorney, I handled a reckless homicide case over there. I've handled a number of different felony cases in Tazewell County and misdemeanor jury trials and misdemeanor trials. As a federal prosecutor, I had 16 federal jury trials involving everything from bank robbery. Also had cases involving sexual victims in the federal system in Las Vegas. If you want to, I mean, I'd be happy to give you.
No, I don't know a whole lot about you, and I don't know a whole lot about your experience and how many cases you've tried, and because I think it's very important that we know.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you a little bit more about it. In Cook County, as an assistant state's attorney, I worked in the narcotics unit. And there we had night narcotics courtrooms, so we did everything from bond hearings to grand jury work to bench trials. So that was all narcotics, everything from heroin to crack cocaine to marijuana. That's hand deliveries. It was possession with intent to deliver. So, from that perspective, I was in the courtroom almost every day doing drug cases. When I came to Tazewell County, I really worked in every division: traffic, misdemeanor, felony. And had a lot of different experience, from traffic cases to all kinds of misdemeanor to felony cases. I mentioned a reckless homicide case. I've also been involved with robbery cases, burglary cases. At the federal level, the federal statute is a little different, but the Project Safe Neighborhoods program, which I was in charge of, really what that was about, going after multiple convicted felons that get caught with weapons. And that program really went after that. And that 30-member group that I worked in, that was really the emphasis, was going after that and bringing people to court, the worst of the worst. There were multiple convicted felons. and trying to get a conviction on that. So that was a lot of it in the federal system. So, but I'd be happy to answer any further questions that you may have along those lines.
Sir?
I have a habit of standing when I speak. Lawyers have a habit, and I suppose I'm one of them, of mincing words. But being involved in a case or handling a case is a lot different than doing a case. The answer to your question is murders, 0. And rapes, 0. And armed robberies, 0. Those are the answers to the question. I recognize that when you're an assistant state's attorney in Tazewell County and you say, I had a reckless homicide, it allows you to say I had a felony. But the jury trials that my opponent had in Tazewell County, my recollection, understanding is, were traffic. I believe they may have been felony traffic, which is sometimes like being the tallest building in Vermont. It's one of those things that is noticeable but not meaningful in a way, other than maybe for persons in that case. That doesn't make a person a poor choice or a poor attorney. But if one of the measuring sticks, one of the barometers is, where have you been? What have you done? And how have you done it? You have to first have done it before you can do it well. And I don't know that it's on the Convention and Visitors Bureau brochure, but Peoria has had 3 serial murderers. Most prosecutors go a lifetime and not have a serial murderer. We've had 3. Two of which I have prosecuted. The third one was prosecuted in another county and he died in prison. Now, I don't think that makes Peoria a bad place. 3 people who weren't wrapped well, and 3 people who were violent, mean people, who killed a lot of people. It's a sad, shame reflection on that person. And I might say it's a sad, shameful reflection on a part of a community maybe that it didn't capture our attention quick enough, sometimes in cases like that. But you gotta do the case before you can say you've done it well.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions?
David, do I get a response to that?
Well, what do you think? Should we give him a shot? All right, well then, does he get a response to his response? All right, just a quick one then.
Yeah. Well, I guess, yeah, I mean, what my opponent just said, I guess, and he rattled off all these things that he's done, and I guess I go back to the people that know him the best are people in law enforcement. Every criminal case that goes through that courthouse involves a police officer, a sheriff deputy, and every single department in this county is against him in this race, and they're supporting me. So you can talk about all the record in the world and all those things. And I'll just tell you, I told you, I've had over 30 jury trials, and I've tried a lot of cases. And it may not be the first-degree murder cases, but again, I ask how many trials he's had in the last 8 years. In the last 8 years, I've had over 30 jury trials. And I maybe haven't had the high-profile serial killers. I agree with you, I haven't. But I've had a lot of experience in the trenches, trying cases. Maybe they're traffic or misdemeanor or federal felony trials. But I've been in the trenches trying them. And again, somebody must think that I can do a good job when you have every department in this county. Let me just mention one other thing. The Peoria Police Department has 250 officers. They took a vote on my opponent and me, and he got 4 votes. Thank you.
Well, then I do want to answer.
All right. After that short answer, we're going to take another question.
Ever since I've been the state's attorney, in 20 years, it has always been my practice and policy. I do not take money, nor do I seek, nor do I take endorsements from police, labor, unions in my jurisdiction. That is obviously not the political well-being thing for me in this race. It has a political price to it. But as a sitting prosecutor, it's the right thing to do. Why? Because the state's attorney's office is about judgment, and it is about balance, but it is not for sale. and it ought not to belong or be beholden to anybody, including the police. I have prosecuted more than 10,000 persons for robbery and theft, 5,000 for sex assault, over 200 murderers, and even 23 police officers. I'm telling you, the state's attorney's office belongs to you, but it isn't owned by anybody, including the police.
Another question?